What's up, guys? So we're going to be reacting to a recent Wheat Waffles video that says 3 reasons never to approach women in public. So we're going to find out what kind of shit he gets wrong this time. Alright, so this video was sent to me by a bunch of people like, dude, you gotta react to this video. Looking at the title, I'm like, oh god. 3 reasons never to pick up women in public. Never is a very strong word. Now, I agree that sometimes pickup artists overdo it and they spam approach people, but you should always have the option of approaching girls. So we're gonna jump into the video. I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible and give it my honest 2 cents.
Excuse me, do you want to hear a story for a second? Yes. I was literally practicing my skills all day just so I can come over and say hi. Hi. That's it? Yeah, what's up?
Oh no, I'm not talking, sorry.
You're not allowed to? No. You're on the phone. Well, like, before, okay, well, I'll transition to this lady. You wouldn't believe what just happened. She rejected me, it's really sad. Can you believe that?
I'm waiting for my friend.
Memorize. Alright, so this is something that black pillars do all the time. They just pick the worst fails of pickup artists and they're like, oh, this is what happens when you cold approach girls. Yes, of course you're gonna have fails, you're gonna have blowouts, but you're also gonna have successes, right? So it's just kind of disgenuine to pick the worst of the worst, right? And use that as basically your baseline. But let's keep going.
This is off by heart, guys. If you approach women as a sub 5 like either of these, they'll run away from you. If you're a normie, they'll tolerate your presence for maybe 5 minutes before giving you a soft rejection, like, sorry, I have a boyfriend. And if you're a Chad, they'll feel flattered you've approached them and they'll gladly give you their number. In this video...
Okay, so where do I stand on this? I would probably say I'm a normie. I don't think I'm a Chad by any stretch. I think Wheat Waffles would say I'm a normie. I've hooked up with well over 100 girls from cold approach, so how would you account for that? Like, yeah, okay, occasionally a girl does have a boyfriend. Sometimes she makes that shit up when she's not interested. But this categorization, I've gotten out with guys who are Chads that, like, every girl gives them the number and every girl's down is just not true. Yes, they have it a little bit easier, like, than, for example, someone like me, but game can definitely compensate for that. Like, I guarantee you, if you put a guy who's a Giga Chad who has no game and me, and we go out, I would probably do better at cold approach. And I'm not even that great at cold approach just because I have much more skills. But yes, if the game level is equal, like if he has the same level of game, yeah, he will do better, but it's not as drastic as the black pillars make it out to be.
I'm going to be giving you 3 reasons why cold approach, pickup art, day game, or whatever you want to call it, is mostly a waste of time strategy for any average or below average guys. And though it's not anywhere nearly as bad as online dating or nightclub approaching as covered in the last 2 episodes, in my opinion, it's still...
Okay, so you should not pick up girls from dating apps, you should not pick up girls from clubs, you should not pick up girls from day game. Where the fuck are you supposed to pick up girls? Are you supposed to just jerk off in your mom's basement for the rest of your life? Also, he's missing the point that Bradicus has shown a lot of fucking receipts of him hooking up with a lot of girls. I've talked to him personally, and I know well over 100 of the girls that he's fucked have come from cold approach, and the rest have come from online dating. So the 2 things that Wheat Waffle says you shouldn't do, Bradicus has fucked hundreds and hundreds of girls from that source, and he's clearly not that good looking of a guy. Like, I would say he's probably a sub 5 or a normie at best. He's not the best looking guy, but he's fucked hundreds of girls. So yeah, how the fuck would you account for that?
Still makes the top 3 for worst possible approaching strategies. Number 1. You need to be good looking for cold approach to be effective. This study that Alexander Grace introduced me to shows how important looks are when hitting on girls you don't know. The process was as follows. A team of 7 judges had to rate 167 couples, that's 334 total participants, on a scale from 1 to 7 in terms of attractiveness. Remember that piece of information, it's out of 7, not 10. For example, this person may have been given scores of 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, which means their average score will be 6. Meanwhile, this person may have been given scores of 1, 5 2s, and a 3, which means their average will be 2. Next, once everyone had their scores calculated, they tried to see if there was a correlation between each couple's scores. In other words, if we were to draw a graph with the boyfriend's attractiveness out of 7 on the x-axis, and his girlfriend's attractiveness out of 7 on the y-axis, will there be a correlation for each of the couple's looks? E.g., if a man got rated a 5, is he more likely to be dating someone around his own looks level compared to what a lower rated guy, say a 2, could expect to get? The results were eye-opening. They found when a couple did not know each other before they started dating, say because the man cold approached the woman in the street, there was a strong correlation of attractiveness for couples formed this way. The correlation factor was 0.7, which when plotted on our graph would look something like this. A clear uptrend with only minor deviations from the line of...
Oh my fucking god! Wait, you're saying that people generally tend to date people with their similar sexual market value, I would have never guessed that. And this is black people do this all the time, but it's such a disgenuine argument. You can make the same point about fucking like finances, right? Well, when we took a look at it, we found out that people make on average 50, 60,000 a year. So if you're one of those people who wants to become rich and successful, forget about it. Statistically, you're going to make 50 or 60,000 a year. Yeah, the average person also has no fucking game. The average person watches 5 hours of TV. Do you really want to be like the average person? I certainly don't want to be like the average fucker, right? I want to be well above that. So why would you want to be like the average person? Who gives a fuck what the average person does? The average person is the massive loser, and you do not want to be like the average person.
Best fit. This shows you're mostly tied to your looks match or dating within your league when you're trying to meet women you have not met before. In contrast, for couples that met through warm approach and were already friends before they started dating, these had far less of a correlation between their looks. The correlation factor was only 0.4, which is a little looks matched. However, there's still plenty of room for outlier couples to be formed where there's large disparities in looks between the man and woman. For example, you have this couple over here where a 7 out of 7 man is dating a 4 out of 7 woman. Then, all the way over here, you have a 2 out of 7 man dating a 5 out of 7 woman. Therefore, what this part of the study reveals is that when approaching in a warm environment, such as a university class, dating up or down a league becomes very feasible. But if
it's feasible either way, yeah, I guess I see the point that probably it's going to be easier to meet a girl from warm approach. Yeah, no fucking shit, dude. Of course everyone knows that, but most guys, they don't have the luxury of having warm approaches because they're not friends with any girls. So what are you supposed to do in that situation? Are you supposed to just sit around and jerk off? Now, the advice the black pillar would say, oh, well, change your circumstances. Yeah, easier said than done. For a lot of guys, they don't have a social circle of hot, attractive girls, and for them, cold approach and online dating really comes in and helps them, right? So just be like, yeah, sure, if you have the luxury of having a bunch of hot girls in your social circle, sure, utilize that. Just most guys don't have that at their disposal.
If a man tries doing this through cold approach, his chances go down considerably, and his best options are by approaching those around his own looks level. All of this makes perfect sense too from a logical standpoint. Going back to warm approach, a man like this may have been able to get this relationship with a woman way above his looks level because he's had more time to show all of his other merits going for him beyond just his looks. He may have a great social circle, social status, a few common interests with the girl, or just all-round good in-depth conversations. All of these things will boost his chances, which may allow him to date up a couple points. In contrast, when looking at cold approach, there's only 2 variables of SMV that will determine a man's success. 1, looks, which is comprised primarily of face, body, and height, and 2, your game/social skills. I'd say around 70% of it is your looks and the remaining 30% is your game. Anyway, that's the first point, so if you've enjoyed the first couple minutes of the video, now is a good time to press the like button and leave any thoughts you have in the comments below so far, as it helps the YouTube algorithm. Reason number 2, and this is somewhat related to the first point. After online dating, cold approach has the lowest rate of return. In my opinion, if you're not at least a 6 or above in SMV, I wouldn't even bother with cold approach. The rate of return is just too low. And don't let where the line is drawn deceive you. 6 or above is the top 25% of men. Most guys are a 5 or below. If you try approaching as a 4 or 5, it's like trying to cut down a tree, but with a kitchen knife. And if you try approaching as a 3, it's like using a toothbrush. The only exception to this, and the only time I would say you should try cold approaching as a 4 or 5, is if you have some niche quality about you, such as being exceptionally tall or having red hair. Because all you'd have to do in this situation...
He thinks that having red hair, like being a ginger, will help you. Not to like put we follows out there, but he's actually a ginger himself. Like, he thinks that's an advantage. I mean, I don't think it's gonna hurt you, but like, who gives a fuck if you have fucking red hair?
...is spam approach until a woman finds your niche quality attractive and gives you the Chad treatment. I myself fall...
Oh my god, we waffles, I've always wanted a 19-year-old ginger in my bed. Oh my god, like, I like Wheat Waffles as a person, but he's such a fucking dork, it's not even funny.
...into this category as I have red hair, and I've also been told I'm around a 5 in looks. And, based on my experience cold approaching, 2 of the girls I was successful with had a dating history of exclusively dating other men with red hair. Anyway, getting back to the point about cold approach's low rate of return. It's often said that as a man on online dating, you're just another guy in her inbox among hundreds of others. Well, I think a similar thing is to be said about cold approach, but just to a lesser degree.
Yeah, I will kind of agree with him. Cold approach does generally have a low rate of return. So maybe if you approach 10 girls, you might, have sex with one of them, right? You might get like 2 or 3 phone numbers. One of those girls comes through and then you have sex with one of them. Like maybe even less. Maybe you have sex with like 5 out of 100, right? So this is why I say you should not just be going out there and mass spam approaching for hours on end. I mean, I think that's okay to do that in the beginning, but cold approach should just be part of your day. So meaning you're going to the grocery store, you're going on a walk, right? And you see a hot girl, you approach her. So this way it doesn't really take any time out of your day and you've literally lost nothing. If you just do that consistently, you will get some girls you're going to sleep with just from doing that. Also, your approach is going to be more natural. And then when you go out at night with your friends, you're having fun, you're laughing around, and then you're approaching girls at the same time, right? So yeah, it's relatively low rate of return. Like basically sales is also low rate of returns, like calling people, trying to sell them shit is low rate of return, but you can be a very successful salesperson if one, your product is somewhat decent, and two, you're a good salesperson, you know how to present it. So just because something has a low rate of return doesn't mean it's not worth doing, especially again, if you do what I say and you basically make it part of your everyday life, so it doesn't really cost you any time. Online dating, sure, it has a low rate of return as well, but then again, you're running massive volume, right? Again, I fucked well over hundreds of girls from online dating. It's just because I'm running high volume, right? And then, I'm polarizing my profile, so the girls who match with me are actually really serious about meeting up with me. And this is stuff I've talked about in plenty of other videos.
You're likely just one of dozens of others who's approached her in the previous months. Now, obviously, to be one of dozens is a lot better than being one of hundreds, but it's still not that much better. Cold approach.
Actually, he's not really correct about it. Depends on the city you live in, but most girls don't get cold approach nearly as much as black pillars think they do. What happens to most girls is they get catcalled. They get guys saying, yo, mama, I want to fuck that ass, or guys who are being really creepy. But very few guys actually genuinely go up to a girl and are like, hey, I thought you were really pretty. I want to talk to you. My name is like, try to have a genuine conversation with her. That very rarely happens to a lot of girls. Like most girls haven't been cold approached like that before. They've just been harassed and like have people catcalling them, but that does not count as a cold approach. A cold approach is when you go up to a girl and you 100% commit to the interaction. You try to have a genuine conversation with her.
Approaching a woman is in essence a sales pitch of yourself. You have 5 minutes to show why you're deserving of a woman's time to see her again. However, the problem is it's way too easy for a woman to forget about you once you're gone, because she knows it's only a matter of time until another guy shoots his shot. Now, if she knew that you were going to be the last person on earth to ever approach her, it might be a different story, and she may give the thought of seeing you again a little more consideration. But unfortunately, this is not the deal with cold approach. Most attractive women know that there will always be more men to approach them in future, which therefore makes it an easy decision for the woman to forget about you as soon as the interaction is over.
Okay, so we have to add a little nuance to this. So if a girl goes out a lot to bars, yes, that's true. Guys are going to approach her at bars and clubs. But if a girl is not really a party girl and she just, goes out and walks her dog during the daytime, she's not going to get nearly approached as much as these guys think he is. Again, there's going to be people catcalling her, but legitimately cold approaching her, not going to happen that often. Like a lot of times you are going to stand out just by having the balls to come up with her and have a conversation.
Over. This explains why the flake rate is so high in cold approach, and it only gets worse the less attractive you are. Out of all the guys that approach a woman in a given month, unless you're the most attractive guy, it'll be too easy for her to disregard all the lackluster options and try focus on just the best one. It's well regarded in the cold approach community that getting a girl's phone number nowadays means almost nothing. And that's because it's always easier for a woman to give out her number freely and then flake on the text later.
Yeah, that's true. A phone number doesn't really mean that much. So fucking what? That's why you get a lot of phone numbers and you try not to spend that much time on getting one phone number.
Instead of having to reject the man on the spot. This ties in nicely with my next and final point on why you shouldn't cold approach, which is that cold approach has the biggest effects on your self-esteem compared to any other form of approaching. And this is partially because of what I've just described. When a woman gives out her number to avoid rejecting a man, it temporarily gives him a false sense of hope. I've seen so many guys online tell stories about how they had a daytime interaction with a girl they thought couldn't have gone any better. My game was perfect that day, they might say. However, when things progress to text, for whatever reason, the woman's interest suddenly drops off a cliff. This happens in...
Okay, so there is a small element of truth here. Yes, if you tie your self-esteem to your external results, then yeah, it will take a massive toll on you. Just like if you're a salesperson and you tie your self-esteem to each prospect that you talk to, and most of the prospects are not interested in buying your product, yeah, you'll have a massive ups and downs, and mostly will be downs. However, this is basically by its design, bad internal game. There should be a massive wall between your self-esteem and your external results. Me personally, I don't give a fuck. I already think I'm awesome. So whether some random girl fucks me or doesn't fuck me makes zero difference to me. And if you can have that kind of separation, that wall between your external success and your internal state, then it will not take a toll. You will actually feel better about yourself because you're a man who's taking action. Because every time you see how a girl, you have that voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, don't do it, don't do it. And when you overcome that voice and you take action, I generally feel good about myself, and so does everyone else. Again, the only caveat is if you tie your self-esteem to external results, then yes, you will have those downs, but just have that wall there and you will only have ups instead of downs.
Cold approach more than in any other environment. In online interactions, if a woman's not interested, all she has to do is leave you on red or block you. Which, yes, I'll admit, can feel bad in the moment. However, I'd much prefer to be blocked by someone I've never met before from an online dating app than have my hopes inflated after what I believe to be a successful interaction, only for it to come crashing down later on when she starts being flaky over text. As for warm approach, the quantity of rejections is already low, as you're not going to be spamming repetitions like you would in cold approach. One rejection is already a lot better than 50. But furthermore, if you warm approach the correct way, you can minimize the risk of rejection to almost zero. The best and most common way, in my opinion, I see guys succeeding in warm approach is by first waiting for a girl to give clear choosing signals. This could be her deliberately laughing at bad jokes, or she repeatedly replies.
It seems like the goal of black pillars is not to succeed with girls, it's just to avoid rejection. Like if your whole goal is to avoid rejection, you're so fragile and you have such fragile self-esteem that you want to avoid rejection, then I guess follow this advice. Sure, yeah, because cold approach, online dating, even warm approach, you're going to get rejected. So if you're so fragile you can't handle that, then I would argue the solution for you is not to avoid rejection, but it's actually to overcome your fragile ego and develop a tough outer shell, which you're going to need to literally succeed in anything in life. You think the business playing with fire was easy? I had so many fucking setbacks when I started. You think like this was an easy journey? Anything you're going to do in life that's worth pursuing, you're going to have setbacks and you're going to have rejection. You just have to be able to deal with it like a man instead of just getting butthurt every time you get rejected. So yeah, like this idea that like, oh, you know, rejection is so bad. Who gives a fuck? I mean, maybe this is just because I did years of sales, but I literally don't give a rat's ass about rejection. It doesn't affect me at all. And that's the mindset everyone should have.
A man's story with flirtatious remarks. Anyway, after this first step, if either of these two things happen, at this point, it then makes it a no-brainer for the man to shoot his shot. Then lastly, as long as he doesn't screw up, i.e. acts normal, his chance of success should be very high. Now, obviously, you need to be at least average, if not above average, in order to have women give you choosing signals in the first place. But the point is, if and when they do happen, if you follow the steps, it's unlikely you'll get rejected when you—
Why the fuck would you wait for choosing signals? Why would you not just initiate? You're a man, you're supposed to fucking lead. Like, this to me, the red pillars say this also, but I think it's so fucking dumb. Sure, if you're out and about and you see choosing signals, then yeah, go and approach that girl. And yes, you should have your eye out so that maybe if a girl's giving choosing signals, you pick up on it. But you certainly don't have to sit around and fucking wait, because a lot of girls won't give choosing signals because a lot of girls are awkward, they're shy, they don't want to make it seem like they're looking at you, right? And a lot of girls, they're in their own world, so they don't even notice you. So waiting for choosing signals is really fucking dumb.
You approach her, which therefore means your self-esteem will always remain intact. Now going back to cold approach, the choosing signals safety net is rarely there if you want to do it effectively. Most guys who practice cold approach know it's mostly a numbers game. They're happy to get rejected 95% of the time in order to get through to that last 5% that will accept them. Now, I'm not saying you should rule out cold approach solely because of this reason, but the idea, if rejection still hurts, you haven't been rejected enough, only goes so far. What I'm saying is that cold approach—
No, the reason rejection hurts isn't because you haven't been rejected enough. The reason is because your self-esteem and your ego is tied to your external results. Once you sever that tie, then you will no longer feel hurt.
requires a thicker skin than any other approaching method out there. There are no safety nets unlike the other methods. Online approach has the online shield and no one's watching safety nets. Nightclubs also have the no one's watching safety net, as well as the alcohol safety net. And lastly, as already stated, warm approach has the choosing signals safety net. So, as you—
Oh my god, these black pillars are such fucking dorks. Like, they need a safety net. Like, how fragile are you that you need a safety net? Like, I sort of see the point he's making, but I don't think we should be encouraging guys to want to have a safety net when they approach girls. We should be encouraging guys to, again, to build up a tougher skin so they can succeed in the world, because the world is fucking tough and the world fucking hurts. And just like, I don't know, this kind of like cuddling of people, I just don't think it's good for them.
You can see cold approach is the only approaching method out there where it is just you on your own and you have no other choice but to take every rejection as it comes. It's easy to say guys need to toughen up, but as someone who's done it myself, I think there's a reason for why I'd estimate around 80% of guys out there have not once tried it.
All right, so there basically it is. So like I said, I like Wee Waffles personally, but God, his videos are so fucking cringe sometimes. I mean, like, I sort of understand it. If your main goal when it comes to game is just avoiding rejection, then yeah, follow this advice. But if your goal is to actually succeed and maximize your success with girls, then take this advice and throw down the fucking trash. All right, hopefully you guys found this video valuable. And please guys, don't hurt my self-esteem by not liking the video, not hitting subscribe, not clicking the bell for notification, because I'm gonna have to go and cry for 2 days. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this. And until next time.